Hey everybody, and welcome. Welcome back to this week's edition of This Woman Can. I am your host, Janice Sutherland, career and life strategist for the mature Black woman. Now, these next few episodes, I really want to focus on money, all aspects of money. And because one of the key reasons women tell me why they can't make a transition, they can't leave a situation they're in, they can't make a change, or whatever the reason is, the usual thing that comes up is finances. So, over the next few episodes, next few weeks, I really want to focus on how wealth can be health, how we can manage our finances, how we can position ourselves as mature women to get things right. Because people often think at this age, when you're over 40, 50, 60, you really should have your ish together. And living as long as we have experienced various things, life events, things that are thrown at us. So we don't always have it together, but this is the time now to start making amends, putting things in place, because it's never too late. And we can still start working towards that end goal of making sure we're prepared for whatever life throws at us. So my guest this week, let me get to my guest sitting very patiently, is Marcia Armstrong. She's a thought leader in personal finance and a passionate advocate for personal development. As a personal finance disruptor and lead facilitator for the National Financial Literacy Program in Barbados, she empowers corporate professionals and small business owners to transform their finances and build generational wealth. She has a decade of banking experience and an MBA from the University of South Wales, and she has helped clients repay more than $100,000 in debt, build savings, start businesses, and invest. She's also the founder of a Purpose Life and a certified coach. So, Marcia, welcome to This Woman Can.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Now, as I said, I work with women over 40. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about here are women over that age. So if you could expand a little bit for me on one of the biggest financial challenges that you've seen faced by Black women in their 40s, 50s, etc., and how do these challenges sometimes differ by age group?
So very good question. So what I would say is that first of the blocks, I want to mention that personal finance is personal. Sometimes when persons go through challenges, yes, you might have a commonality among the challenges or the different age groups, but it's recognizing that based on the demographic, based on some behind the scenes circumstances, the challenges might be the same, but they may be at different degrees. And therefore, persons in their 40s, what it would say, persons that are in their 40s are more so, they have to juggle not only about their career advancement, looking to see where they want to be in their careers, but you also have persons who have to deal with debt. That is definitely something that comes over in your 40s, because for those who would have gotten their first home, whether as well you have your children's education, so you have these different types of debt that may come over. But then also as well, you have a scenario whereas that you're also dealing with aging parents. Now, I can tell you, I for one, I know what it feels like to be able to take care of an aging parent. But there is something called a sandwich generation, whereas that a person might have their own family, but they also take care of their aging parent at the same time. Yes. So you have a situation where you're trying to juggle the career, you're trying to deal with childcare, take care of children, and still care for your aging parent in the same vein. Now, financial stability is something that all of us want to be able to experience. And therefore, when it comes to persons in their 50s, then the shifts kind of happen at that particular level and dimension. Now, when it comes to in your 50s, again, career, if in regards to pivoting where you're technically at, because it means then that the older that you are, you recognize that retirement is something that's going to be on the horizon. You look at your current circumstance and ask yourself, in regards to your job, is this where I want to be? Is there room for me to be able to have career upward mobility? Can I look at situations where you can either get a promotion or a raise? But you want to make sure that that job dynamic is giving you the benefits based on where you're currently at at that particular life stage. Now, in your 50s as well, we also have to look at the fact as well that we have health challenges that may come to the table. Now, health in itself can affect you at different ages, young or old. But the point is that when it comes to health in particular, we know that the older you become, that these things become more expensive and they become more commonplace, right?
Yes.
They become
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
commonplace. So therefore, when it comes to health, it is about recognizing, okay, what systems do I have in place to take care of my health? Do I have sufficient coverage when it comes to insurance? These are things you want to definitely think about in your 50s. Now, when it comes to your 60s, now this is on the precipice of retirement. And I can speak for Barbados in particular, whereas we have a retirement age of 67, which would increase to 68 at some point in time. But we also have what is called early retirement. Now, persons, when they think about retirement, they think about retirement meaning an age. But retirement is really an amount. Not an age, right? Because you can retire at any age. But do you have the amount, the coverage to sustain you when you make a decision to say you're going to go on retirement? Now, if retirement is something that is involuntary, meaning that something happened medical wells, there was an illness, maybe there is a disability at present. What are the different things that can cause you not to work? And sometimes we believe that when it comes to retirement, that we have full control over that aspect, but we don't. So when it comes to retirement in your 60s, you're not only thinking about retirement, but you're also looking at the fact, can I manage does the retirement income that I have, is it sufficient to cover me? Because as you're young, you want to make decisions so that the older version of you can live and live well.
Absolutely.
You don't want a situation where you're coming from your working years going into poverty. Because that happens if you're not prepared. A person can be making in your best income generating years if you did not manage that money well. If you were not able to maximize the earnings that you receive, then what happens is that a lot of persons then can lead a certain lifestyle or standard of living and actually retire into poverty, where you're literally waiting on a government or waiting on social security to cover you. And we all know that one source of income is too close to zero, and social security in many instances is not sufficient to cover a person's day-to-day operational expenses.
Absolutely.
So as I would have mentioned, a myriad of things, whether you're in your 40s, your 50s, or your 60s, is to recognize that at each stage or level, based on your circumstances, there will be different challenges that you will face. However, if you're able to prepare for these different things, not only for challenges, but prepare for your financial goals as a whole, it will make you will put yourself in a position whereas that you are not overly pressured. You're not going into these stages and with regret, or going into these stages with frustration, but you're able to navigate the journey as it is presented to you and be able to have that level of financial stability, which defined by you. You know what financial stability means to you, not what the world thinks it is, but you will know what is your comfortable stage and what is the stage whereas you're able to pay your bills and still live. Because it's either or. Put yourself in that position so that you're able to then, live the life that you desire to live for you and your family.
Yeah, that was a fabulous answer, and a lot there for me to unpack. Some things resonate with me. I'm rapidly approaching my 60th birthday. And the one thing that's always stood out for me is a phrase I heard, that retirement is not an age, it's an income. So I have always positioned myself maybe a few years ago so I could be partially, I suppose, semi-retired in all intents and purposes. I'm semi-retired. I have a choice of working, and I'm not struggling financially per se. I could always make more, but I've created a life based on the terms and the values that I want to live. So the retirement is not an age, it's an income thing. It's always been a thing that's run through my head. And you're so right about the different stages, the different ages. So if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is, for those listening, is just pick out a few things for different age groups, because everybody lumps over 40s as one group. But actually, there's a difference between your 40s to your 50s to your 50s to your 60s. And we all have different demands on each decade. So the over 40 crowd, we're not just one mass. there are different things happening to us. So let me start with women in their 40s, and you did allude to this, is that many women at this stage are balancing career advancement, childcare, aging parents. You know, I did the aging parents thing, so I understand that as well. But how can they manage? What are some things they can do to manage these competing financial demands?
So what I would start by saying is that you have to understand your financial boundaries is very important.
Mm.
If you don't understand your financial boundaries, everybody's wants then will become your needs. And let me repeat that everybody's wants
Yeah.
becomes your need. And you know, sometimes as women, as a whole, we are nurturers by default and we like to fix things. We like to fix everything. So it's recognizing the importance of having a financial boundary, understand what you can and just can't do. We are not here to be super women or as it says, superheroes. You know, you need to know when to say no. You need to know what to say yes to. So I would start by saying that for sure. After you have implemented what your financial boundaries are, you want to then also be able to understand the importance. Now, budgeting is something that's across all age groups.
Yeah.
That's just the foundation. But when we speak about budgeting in this case, it's not just about knowing your income versus the expenses and what you have left. It's about creating your budget around what your financial goals are. Right? What are your financial plans in regards to this particular area? Whether it is to be able, if you want to become debt free, for instance, it means that you will then need to do an audit. So you're doing an audit on your finances to know, okay, where do you stand in particular areas? You look at your savings levels, you look at your investments, you look at your debt management levels, like where do you stand in different categories? So you are able to identify gaps. Because I can't overcome something or address something if I don't know first where I stand. A lot of persons tend to look at the end of the road in regards to the outcome, but we can't get there unless we know where we actually stand. Because if I know where I am currently, then it will know, okay, what steps I need to do in order to then get me to where I need to get to at the particular end. So having a financial plan in place is definitely crucial. What I will also say as well, this is something a lot of people leave on the table. You don't want to leave money on the table. So when it comes to your employer, if there are benefits that you can utilize, especially when it comes to retirement planning, where they have employer sponsor plans in some instances where your employer matches your contribution, opt into it. There are persons who believe no, it's another expense. And again, this is it comes down to the money script. Like my money mindset might be telling me this is an expense, but no, it's an investment because it's free money that you're literally getting. So you want to be able to take advantage of any employer benefit that will put you in a better position and ease your load. And that also includes, even when it comes to that, there are debt repayment plans or strategies that you can do with employers. There are tuition reimbursements for those who might have student loan debt. For instance, you can utilize a tuition reimbursement with your employer if they offer it. Whereas you do the area of study, you provide the source document to your employer, and then they look at your semester, your script, and your books, whatever it is that you need, and be able to reimburse you, because that is how it actually got out of that myself personally, because I utilized it, you know, was it something that I walked into in the beginning and say, yes, I would do this? No, I actually had to shift my actual script that was telling me, well, don't opt into it, because of course, as an employer will give you this as a benefit, there will be some strings attached in regards to you having to work there maybe another year with this company. But we can't, instead of looking at what it is that you're losing,
what are you gaining?
it is to focus on the benefit of what you're actually gaining by doing what it is that you're doing, right? So that is what it was saying. And also as well, seek financial advisors. We don't know everything. And sometimes you're the only one looking at your money, you will get the same story over and over and over again, because you're the only character in your story. So sometimes you need to bring in some new characters, do a new script. Bring in some person who don't know you personally, who does not know your situation, because what happens is that then there's not biases. That person's able to be objective in what it is that they're going to be sharing with you and just tell you the truth. Because when it comes to money, it can tell you. When it comes to money, it can be very touchy, and some people don't like to hear the truth. If I tell a person, well, hey, that car is too expensive, or you have too much house to be able to afford it, some people are afraid to let go of things. although it might be causing them to struggle. So you need to be able to have voices or seek support in regards to listen to voices that don't sound like you. All right. All right. So yes, we'll end at those 3 points there.
So I love what you talked about. A few things popped up for me there. Everybody's wants becomes your needs. I loved that. And the thing you were tapping into that came into my mind. We spoke about this off air briefly before. Is our mindset. I'm a big mindset woman, so our mindset towards things. And I know for me, back in my younger years, I had some very severe financial trauma, divorce, lost my house, all that kind of stuff. So my mind, I'm very, very clear on my relationship with money, and which is probably what's helped me later down the years to be, for want of a better word, careful when it comes to finances. So what would you say to some women who maybe have some financial trauma from back in the day? Because I know, for one, I lived in the UK, 18, I'd get a credit card. I had store cards. I ran them up. It took me forever to pay them off. Didn't know about revolving credit and all that kind of stuff. We won't go into that. But at this stage, chances are some of us have experienced some sort of financial trauma from the past. So what would you say to women who are probably not navigating that aspect of their mindset?
So very powerful question, and thank you for sharing your journey as well. What I will say here is 2 things, right? You are not your trauma. Sometimes when it comes to money, whether, and based on the trauma that you would have experienced, whether it's a separation, a divorce, whether, there was financial abuse, because there's also financial abuse where one partner might be the breadwinner and they withhold from you, etc. What I would say is that you are not your trauma. You are not your debt. You are not your financial situation. You are separate. You're a separate person. And it is not to identify yourself with what it is that you're experiencing. So you have to have a separation. Now, I would say secondly here as well is that as a personal finance disruptor, I would say that there are moments where we also need to understand that there are certain things that we can't do in regards to coaching that only therapy can fill. There are certain traumas that people need to be counseled in. People need therapy to be able to get through it. So it's not about you just trying tactics and strategies and say do this and to do that. Because sometimes that person's heart needs to be healed. Because if you have a healed heart, you have a healed mind.
Great. I love that.
You have a healed mind. So once you fix the heart issue, the mind will then come into alignment with what it is that your heart is pushing. And then it's only at that stage that you're able then to receive what it is that you're able to receive. It's knowing when to know, it's knowing as a coach or knowing as a professional when you need to pull out your tools and when you need to refer someone for deeper counseling and therapy. Because it means that what you have for them is not the time to offer it. It's not the time to go. So you have to know who it is that you're dealing with. And what I would say lastly is that in order to overcome anything, you need to address it. So by sweeping things under the rug or thinking that, if I don't think about it, it'll just disappear. No, it would not. It means that what's going to happen is that past version of you, that past experience that you had is going to keep coming forward in your life, and it will continue to self-sabotage your future unless you address it.
And I just added to another thought that came to my mind, you're saying that, is that the not sweeping under the carpet is a huge thing. Because if you are in debt, say, and this is from experience, that the debtors would rather know about it, and you'd be amazed at what they will accept as a payment plan based on what you have. They'd rather get something than nothing. So don't be afraid to approach you. When I think of some of the payment plans I had back in the day, I wasn't even going to mention it on air. So it's ridiculous. Did you really manage to get away with that? But I was paying a debt, and so do not, ladies, bury your head in the sand, hoping it'll go away, because it'll always rear its head to slap you back down.
Exactly.
So, Marcia, that's great for the 40s. Let me just move on to women in their 50s. So you alluded to that we start thinking about our retirement and stuff like that. So how can women in this particular cohort assess their current retirement readiness and maybe make some adjustments if they need to? Remember, we said retirement is not an age, it's an income.
Right. So when it comes to retirement, especially in regards to the 50s, so number one is about looking. So you're looking at your career trajectory, right? You're looking at what is that you're earning right now. You're looking at your different income sources as well. Is it sufficient? Right?
Mm,
Is it actually sufficient? Because you have to work on, there's something called the FIRE number. This is financial independence, retire
yeah,
early,
yeah,
where you're able to work out based on your yearly expenses, multiply it by 25, and
yeah,
you get a figure that tells you, okay, you need to at least have maybe this 1.25 million or this,
yeah,
this amount of
yeah,
money saved away, so that then you're able to then draw on money every year, maybe for the 4% rule, draw down
yeah,
4% every year and live off of that. So what I
yeah.
would say all that to say this is that if you know what your numbers are currently, you will know what the shortfall is. And then what
Mm,
all that will do is then kind of like make you think about ways in which you can then kind of like up your game in regards
yeah,
to earn
yeah,
more. Now,
yeah.
I always tell people when it comes to earning any additional income, I always start at home first. When they say at home, meaning at your job, right? If you're
Yes.
working for someone, start in-house first before you look outside, because
Yeah.
guess what? You're already being paid for your skill set. Why add the burden? Because for some persons, in this group, you don't necessarily have the time to say that you can
Yes.
do a
Yeah.
side hustle and
Yeah.
be able to have that level of availability to give. So what I would say is that you look in-house first, look at your current skill set, ask yourself, okay, what are the different, again, what is the career trajectory in my line in regards to where I'm at. This is where as well that you will seek the promotions, you will negotiate for higher salaries. Let persons know what you bring to the table. Because many
Mm,
times, right, we are afraid to sometimes brag on ourselves. It's not about having a big ego. It's about being assertive in regards to the value that you do bring. So you're not just asking
absolutely.
for a raise to say, okay, I deserve this additional money. No, you are showing them, right?
Yeah.
You're actually having
Yeah.
some document where you're able to show them, hey, this is my job description, but this is what I have been able to do since I've been in this role. And
Yeah.
many of the things that you have been able to do will be outside of the job description that you have in your
Yeah.
hand. But it's
Yeah.
about how can you communicate that value to your direct manager, or that
Yeah.
person you report to. So how can you negotiate for yourself and to do it well? Because when it comes to
Mm,
negotiating for other people, we can get it done. But when it comes to
yes.
negotiating for ourselves, for some reason we
Yeah.
lose our voice. But we have to be able to stand firm and say, no, I have this number of years of experience. This is what I would have brought to the table. I would have
Mm,
caused the company to either increase their revenue or to save in regards to cost saving measures. Like
yeah.
you have to have data. People love data.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
have data, you can dispute what it is the person would
Yeah.
bring to the table because they have proof. So they're able to indicate this is what would have transpired. Now, once you look in-house in regards to promotions or in regards to raises, what I will also say as well here is that investing definitely is something that you don't have to exchange time for money. So in
Mm,
instances where you're able to do a budget assessment and you might have some extra money that you can play around with, that you can put into some type of investment tool, that would definitely be another plus as well. Whereas the rate of return on the investment, of course, would be way more than what you will have if you were just saving it, for instance, right? If you were just saving money at the current interest rates, it won't really be much. But if you're putting it into
mm,
an investment product, again, based on your financial goals, whether your goals are short term, 12 months or within 12 months, whether it is medium term, 1 to 3 years, or long term, 5 years plus, you want to be in a position whereas that you are investing based on your financial goal.
yeah. Yeah.
But whatever it is that you would like to achieve by X time, you want to be able to then start to build that way, because the older you are, the more money you have to put in. So hence, we normally would
Mm,
tell persons to invest early, because it's cheaper to invest early versus waiting too late to invest, because you
yeah.
have to put way more contributions in to really get something back that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
lastly, what it would put here is networking. So sometimes it's not about who you are, but who you know.
Mm,
And therefore, your name can be put into rooms that your feet have yet to enter.
yeah.
And therefore, you want to make sure that when people call your name, that your name is, as the good word says, is as valuable as ruby or gold, right? It
Yeah.
stands, it carries weight. So you want to be able to network with key people based on where you're going, you network with the people that are necessary, that will become stepping stones for your next step or towards your vision, right? How can you network effectively? It's not just about sharing out business cards, but you're looking for synergy. You're looking for as an exchange of value as well, not just what you can get, but what you also can offer as well. So networking is finally key, because there are people that will have access to rooms that you will never see.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, networking is a form of currency because it's relationship building.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So if you're able to network, that also will put you in a position whereas maybe someone can maybe headhunt for a position. Maybe someone's looking for someone and they're not going to the normal traditional channels, but they can use the opportunity where someone says, hey, have you met X? Have you met Y? And that person is able to share about you and be able to get you into the door so that you then will be able then to command a higher level of income as well.
Fabulous. It's great advice. It's great advice, Marcia. So let me just flick on to the women over this in the 60s, because like I said, they're very dear to me right now. And a lot of people are thinking, we alluded to that, they may be transitioning into retirement, but the trending right now, what's happening as the age population is decreasing, and there's less births, and retirement ages are expanding. So we're some of us are having to work longer than anticipated, because whatever's happening is that we're going to be around a lot longer, and we need to cater for that a lot longer. So what are some key considerations for maybe managing income effectively as we're going into that years, or how do we maximize the social security benefits if they're available in general? So this is global, so.
Right. So when it comes to in the 60s, for sure, having more than one source of income is important. When I say more than one source of income, you might have social security, but then we also have individual pension plans, for instance, right? There are different facilities that are available that you can actually contribute towards, so that when it comes to the retirement stage, you're getting income from more than one source, so that collectively then it makes sense. But with any retirement plan, if you're able to put yourself in a position to understand how can I maximize, really maximize. So for certain plans, they might have limits in regards to how much you can contribute for the entire year. Maybe your financial goal can be, okay, make sure that I reach this particular threshold every year, so that one that you're making sure that you're getting the full benefit of what it is that they're offering. Also, as well, having an understanding of the different social security benefits is very important. Now, I can tell you, sometimes things can happen, whether it is a death, whether a spouse might might be deceased. Certain things can happen. Sickness might happen. There are different disabilities. Different things can happen. But when it comes to benefits, I want to make this very clear. Those benefits come with conditions. Okay. So it is very important to read, because for most of these state agencies or most of these organizations, there are policies that govern them, and therefore it's your business. You can't say it is the financial advisor's business. It is your business to make it a priority to understand what it is that you're contributed to. And therefore, what are the conditions that are necessary in order for me to pull from it? Because it means that if I go and apply for these certain benefits and I get told no, I can't bet, because there are conditions set for everything under the sun. So it is to have a level of understanding in regards to, okay, these different benefits, yes, I have access to them, but what are the conditions? Does it mean if I contribute, I have to contribute for a full year? I can't have any breaks in between there. So what are the different conditions assigned in regards to what it is that you have benefit to? Also, as well, too, budgeting still plays a role here. Now, when it comes to budget, in this case, you're not just budgeting just for your daily bills, etc., but we also have. So we want to make sure that, even when it comes to the your different sources that I would have mentioned, a budget is important as well, because yes, budgeting might not necessarily be for just the day-to-day stuff, but by that time you should know what your monthly expenses are. But a budget is also used for forecasting as well. All right. So you want to be able to determine, okay, what is the lifestyle in my retirement do I want to experience? Also, as well, people don't discuss this much, estate planning is definitely important, because as you build wealth over the years, you have to protect what it is that you built, right? So again, you might have to bring in, we call it the money team, whether it is an accountant, someone that deals with the numbers for you, a financial advisor, whether you have a lawyer on hand in regards to any legal aspect, whether it is the wills or the trust, whatever tool you want to be able to use to protect what it is that you have. So they're going to be different places, whether it is a power of attorney. We have to think about these things. Power of attorney now comes into place not only for the health side of it, but the financial decision making. If you are not in a place now to make sound decisions, who will make the decisions on your behalf? When it even comes to your access to certain bank accounts online, is it only you that have access to the username and password? Those are things we got to think about also as well when it comes to your health. You know, when it comes to health, it's not just about the normal NCDs, like the blood pressure and these different types of things. But then if it's a situation where you might need to get home care, right? You know, who deals with the home care? Is it 24/7? Can you afford the nurse? Do you have to put persons into a home? Like, these are things that persons do not consider. Terminal illnesses, cancer, different things. That's a whole level of so it means that your insurance coverage, you got to think about the insurance coverage, because again, but you want to have insurance coverage that definitely takes into consideration not only the stage of life that you're in, but the different types of health illness that can happen. And do you have sufficient coverage so that you don't have to come out of pocket to deal with everything on your own? Because to deal with health is one thing, but to deal with money at the same time, that is a double blow. But to care for someone, I still got to worry about the dollars. So therefore, you want that as you enter your retirement stage, that you're not overly stressed. Right? You're not overly stressed. You have certain things in place that in the event something is triggered, you can it will enact some type of action. And you want as well, lastly here, you want as well that you have your family support in whatever you're doing. They must be informed, and they must know what's going to happen, because sometimes people keep people out of the loop. Things happen. They persons don't know. They don't know what they have access to. Sometimes we have to be careful of who we are assigning the job to as well. We might say, well, you know, Auntie Lisa was real great with me and she'll be a great person, but not everyone says, hi, select me for responsibility. Some people cannot handle responsibility and pressure. And therefore, we have to be very careful who we assign certain tasks. You have to have a conversation and ask that person whether or not they don't mind stepping in, but in the event something happens, if they understand the seriousness of the role. Right? So these things are very important to have in place.
So, Marcia, you gave us so much information there, and there's even some food for thought for me, because I thought I got things wrapped up. There's a couple of things that you said that I think when we finish the call, I'm going to circle back to make sure I got covered. But a couple of other things, we're coming to the end of the conversation. There's a couple of things I just want to touch on that we may not think about when it comes to finances, especially in this digital age. So. We talked about how we can save and stuff like that, but sometimes, as my mom used to say, a fool and his money are easily parted. So what are some of the common financial scams or pitfalls that we should be aware of, and how can we avoid them?
Ooh, this is a heavy one. This is a heavy one. What I would say is that when it comes to phishing, like these emails that persons receive, or you want something, give me transfer this. And these are things I find that persons who are very vulnerable in nature are the ones that are taken advantage of, because everyone is not tech savvy. So what happens is that I come from banking. One of the things we would have learned is that, before you go and click a link, it is about hovering your mouse over that link to see what is the actual back-end link that they actually have. But there are many people who fall prey to these traps that happen. Someone might be saying, "Oh, I'm a long lost family," or I need your assistance in helping me to be able to care for someone that is ill. Like, there's so many different ways that people kind of find a loophole in. But what I would say as well too is that you want to be very, very careful giving out any type of information. I mean, the banks themselves tell you they don't ask you for. Why would they ask you for information when you have the account on them, right? Don't freely share your personal information, because there are things like identity theft. where a person can use your identity to get things as well. So we have to be very, very careful not to share things online, not to share with people that we do not know. And one of the things I would say as well too is that if you are able to really monitor your activity, I always tell people like doing a 1 minute money check is real quick. 1 minute money check where you're able to put your accounts, look to see if everything is in order. Because if you don't check your finances, right, if you're not want to look at what's happening, you might wait until the end of the month, realize that there's a charge there for something that you are unaware of, especially in instances where some people might still be using credit cards, etc. You don't want a situation where you see something, you know, like a credit card. When it comes to a credit card, it is the financial institution's money. So that is really, you know, they will get that there started out once they do the investigation. But let's think about it this way. If it's your bank account now, that issue happened on, do you know how long it takes some people to actually rectify issues like that internally? And some people cannot afford to wait that long. But we know that it's not a 24-hour turnaround time to fix those things, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, do regular monitoring on your accounts just to verify and to ensure that nothing, you know, as we have ATM skimming and all these different things that are all about the place now. You have to be very, very careful how you're using things, the time of the day that you use it, you know, whether people are behind you when you're using the ATM. Like you have just to be very cautious. But in particular, when it comes to the digital space, what I would say is that do not put your money in things you do not understand. Because everything that glitter is not gold.
Gold. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
If it's too good to be true,
then it is
too good to be true.
Be true, then it is. Yeah, definitely.
So, I know that, you know, we live in a very fast-paced world, a microwave society. You know, we want to put in something today and become a millionaire tomorrow. But the fastest way to success is to go slow.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for that. We probably have a whole conversation on all that. So we'll wrap up, Marcia. Now, I know you've got something that I think would be really useful for our listeners or my subscribers. So a couple of things. First, what resource and tools are specifically available to help Black women improve their financial literacy?
So what I would say is that one of the things for sure that I would have done, I have done personally is, you know, you can either seek out groups. If you have groups of persons that are like-minded in nature, whereas that they are in a position where people share their own journey as well. I find that when you're a part of groups of people that are reaching for a particular goal themselves, it motivates you and encourages you. And then definitely the questions that are posed as well can assist you, educate you in that regard. But what I would say is that if there are any organizations that deal specifically with financial literacy, it would be to seek out what those organizations are. But outside of that, definitely utilize any financial coach that you have accessible to you or advisor. Again, these are people that have walked the path and can definitely shorten your time frame in regards to what it would take to get on the track that you want to get on. Tune into anything that you are interested in, right? Anything that you give attention to definitely will give you power. Therefore, when it comes to whether it is reading financial books or educate yourself. So whether you're listening to podcasts, whether like this one, right? Whether you're listening to podcasts, whether or not you're reading books, you know, whether you decide to do courses, right? Whatever dynamic it is that you want to be able to take, just find what best suits you, based on what your personality is, based on the ease of the information being transferred. You don't want to have information overload. Be very selective in the voices that you would choose to listen to. Most definitely, remember again, personal finance is personal. So even if a person is speaking and it might not directly relate to you, I always tell persons there's still type of concept that you can still pull from what is being shared, right? You can still pull the concept and apply it to what your scenario is, right? So again, just find the gateway for you. For me, in my case, it would have been to join other groups of persons who different personal finance groups online, where persons were able to share freely and to ask questions, and I found that really helped me in my own journey. Whether it was to listen to podcasts, read books, you know, do courses, invest in yourself. I invested thousands in my development, thousands. So you have to see yourself as an investment, because you know that once you get this tool, you're not only benefiting you, you're able to benefit your children, you're able to benefit family, right? You change your entire generation. It's not just about you.
Yeah, yeah. And just one thing you didn't add, and I know Little Bird told me that you'll be launching a budgeting course yourself. So can you
Yes,
share
yes.
some information about that?
So I will be launching my budgeting basics course in September. This is a course I have taught in person over the years, and I felt very led to launch this course. So right now we have a wait list. There's going to be a wait list, and the link will be provided to you. But there will be a wait list for persons to join or opt in very early. This
Yeah,
is going to be a self-paced course, but it's going to have a weekly Q&A component because I know persons like to have that support system where they can tap in and be able to glean and to have questions. And we also have a private students community that will be connected to it as well. So it's not about persons just coming in about budgeting, learning about budgeting, and then going about their business. No, we're creating a community now. When it comes to budgeting, it's about how can we demystify, what's out there in regards to budgeting, and also as well recognize that there are different people, different types of budgets, whether you are doing, I don't want to say types, but I want to say that you can budget for consistent income, but we
yeah,
have entrepreneurs and business people whose income will fluctuate, and they might
yeah,
ask themselves, how can I budget for irregular income? Or
yeah,
maybe I didn't budget this month, and maybe the 15th or the 16th, I'm now catching myself. How can I do a
yeah,
mid budget? So all that will
yeah.
be included in this budgeting plan. As I said, it's going to be self-paced, so you don't have to rush through the data, but it will be
Fabulous.
done in a way where it's not too overwhelming, in small bite-sized pieces with some
Yeah.
assessments at the end for you to actually implement in real time and be able to see results.
Fantastic. And as I said, I'll definitely put the link in the show notes. And if people want to know more about you, find out more about what you do, Marcia, how can they connect with you?
So you can go to my website at apurposelife246.com. Definitely for those on LinkedIn, I'm a very active poster on LinkedIn. You can check me out on LinkedIn, on the LinkedIn platform at Marcia Armstrong, my own name, but I'm also under my business name, A Purpose Life, on Instagram as well as Facebook. So just type in A Purpose Life and we can connect that way. So feel free to slide into my DMs. Feel free to send me a message. I really love to engage and interact with people, and I cannot wait to connect with you.
Fantastic. Thank you. You've so much information there, Marcia. And I'm sure we're going to be speaking again. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.